Hello, everybody. Welcome to the episode 1 of Shadow Work. My name is Rita of the Shadow. Welcome. And today's episode is about the background of shadow work and why do we care, right? And I was thinking, so because how do we make a convincing argument, right? And we know about cognitive functions, and so we know that everybody have either their FI or FE in their ego. And for the FI users, I need to explain to them, because how does this thing is relevant to them. And for the FE users, it is about, how can I use this information to help other people? So ideally, if I can explain both of this, I will make everybody happy and they will be interested in my video. So that is the goal, but let's see how we do. So I think to explain all of this, the best way is to use a practical example. And the best way I can think of is to imagine if we have to design a artificial intelligence kind of thing, so to design a robot that functions like a human essentially. So how can we do that? So in the real world we have all these spectrums of light, a spectrum of data, just everything, just all the information coming in. But if you need to stand any chance to live in this world, you need to be able to receive those information, and you need to be able to process it, right? So therefore you need to have receivers, and so you need to have receivers and you need to have some kind of decoder. And because if your decoder is not able to process certain kind of information, those information becomes noises. So, and it will just interfere with the important information. So you're gonna need filters also, or maybe because of your technological limitation, your receiver itself is a kind of filter, because for example our eyes can't see all the colors in the all the light available, like different wavelengths of light that we are able to only see between red and violet, that kind of thing. So imagine we had designing a robot. So the eyes would be like the camera, right? And the ears would be like the microphone, and the body is like, you got to have some kind of surface that can detect pressure and can transfer information based on those. It's like a pressure sensitive surface. And then you need to have some kind of a detector that can detect biochemical matters, that is like the tongue, and some kind of noise, like similar kind of thing, but for airborne things like the gas and stuff. And the brain is a little bit like the CPU, is able to process the electronic signals coming in. So there's your receivers and your filters, and then after you have done that, and the next step is to create a kind of a decoder to decode those information and create an interface that you can interact with the world in return, and also to process those information. But the interface here we're talking about is like the software interface, not the hardware interface, because that will be like a totally different topic. It's like the robotic and stuff like that. And so yeah, software interface. So, and creating like a sense of self. So, and from that sense of self, you can relate to the information you are getting and you can interact with it. And that is a form of sentience, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, as soon as you are able to, when the mankind is able to artificially generate or create the ego, then we have achieved artificial intelligence. And by the way, so these all 6 things, they come into the mind consciousness, and in Buddhist term is also called the mana vijnana. Just for additional information in case you are interested. And once you have those information and you have the ego, and then you need some kind of a backup storage device, and you can take information in and out of that storage device. And then so that is the purpose of alaya vijnana, which is the unconscious, or aka the shadow in Jungian terms. And by the way, I'm sure you will be too distracted to listen to me, so I will say yes, I have some IT background. I'm not a hacker level kind of programmer, but I can write some programs, and so that's why I'm able to use computer programming terms. And so this is actually, Buddhism and MBTI typology, but also computer science. So yeah, so no matter if you are a technical person, or you are a spiritual person, or you are somewhere in between, I think I have all the ground covered as to, why you should care about this thing. So let's continue. So to explain in a more technical kind of workflow for TE people, and you have, so the environment provides you with information, and your biological capabilities determines your senses, and your ego takes actions, and then they and then the ego has actions and behaviors, essentially. And then eventually those actions and behaviors goes into the shadow to be processed in the background. Like, even though when we are not aware of it, our actions and experiences are always constantly getting processed in our unconscious, aka the shadow. And all processed experiences will also be stored in the shadow as well. And everything together, from the biological sensory organs to all the way to the shadow are all, part of what determines who we are as a person. So that's our self kind of thing. And our cognitive functions or cognitive senses are actually not part of the senses. They rest within the ego and the shadow, basically, because the senses is when we talk about senses here, it's like the biological senses. It's a bit of different thing, but it might be confusing because they are sensing cognitive functions, but it's not the sensing function are not the senses. I'll just say that first. Even though they are related, they are not the same. Okay, that's enough for that. But so if you only go from left to right, the information coming into senses to the ego and into shadow. But if it's only like that, the shadow doesn't help you at all. So there will be no reason to care about the shadow. But luckily, that is not the case, because our ego do extract something from the shadow, which we will see in a minute. And that something is how we adapt, and how we adapt to the real world. And however, it's like a double-edged sword. So because it's how we adapt and it's based and experience based, it can also create like blind spots and pitfalls. So that is the first reason why shadow work is important, because it makes you aware of your shadow so that you can amplify the benefits and reduce the downsides or the blind spots, that kind of thing. So that is the first reason. Cool. So we have reason number 1 already, and let's continue. So below I have some keywords here that I put in like tags, and then I will drag some into this box right here. So what do our ego extract from the shadow? Those are our habits, our patterns, and the knowledge we have acquired from our experiences. We extract all of those from the shadow, which is what allows us to adjust our behavior and what makes us to take certain actions. So that influences who we are as a person in return. So, and we have more text here, and then here's an example of the sea and soil from the Buddhism perspective. So what are the external forces? So our society push us to do certain things. So the society like are kind of a stimulus for action, and that action is becomes a seed, and the seed is being planted in our unconscious. So unconscious is the soil, and so our society causes action, and the actions creates an experience, and all of those together are our karma, which is our life. Something grow out of those actions and experiences, and those are our karma. but sometimes those experiences are not always positive. So that's when karma is also a trauma. And from the trauma, there are old wounds, which also become seeds. And so the seeds, so the old ones, and then before you can take action, so what do we need first? We need to have an intention. So intention is also a seed. So for the seed, we have the action, the intentions, and your old ones are all part of what being planted into your unconscious, and then it will cause a kind of a loop kind of action. Trauma creates more actions or more old ones, and then in return creates more intention and action and got planted into unconscious, and then it becomes another karma, vice versa. And because so if unconscious is what part of who we are and part of what all of all our experiences and stuff being stored, and that is for one person, right? And society is a collection of persons. So as a society, we also have collective unconscious, and collective unconscious can also become external forces that can influence our actions and intentions. So yeah, so that's basically what it looks like. I think that is right, but I was just thinking whether this should go here or here. But at least you can say for sure action and intentions are definitely part of the seed. Okay. So this should be like pretty self-explanatory now. Like, how is it relevant to you? Because obviously the shadow is part of you. So if you can fix your shadow, you can improve yourself or adjust your behavior to create more positive outcomes for you and also for other people, because if you are unaware of your own trauma or wounds, you're gonna hurt other people, and it's not going to create a good FE outcome. So if you know, then you can create a better experience for them and for yourself as well. So that is a pretty quick and easy explanation why we should care about shadow work, because it can influence how you interact with other people, and it can influence your worldview, because depends on your sensor or you're an introvert person, doesn't matter. It will influence you because your shadow will have either this one or this one as their primary functions, and it can also help you grow and improve, because if your cognitive functions only have 4 and the other 4 is in the shadow, so if you are aware of your shadow, you are able to utilize more cognitive functions. And yeah, and actually one more thing. So because if you look at this carefully, because you can see ego is just one, right? Ego is only one. It's like a computer. You can only have one operating system running at the same time, unless you run a virtual machine, but that is a different thing. But anyways, so you can have one main operating system operating at the same time, and that is your ego. But you have other interfaces and systems, so that means that you have other personas here, and your different sides of mind and your persona. So that means you have more systems you can use if you know how. If you know how to swap system, if you are able to swap, because ego is only one operating system. For example, INFJ. And I have ENFP here. So if I'm only stuck to my ego, I have access to this way of looking at things and the way of interact with other people. But if I can switch system, then I can change how I interact with other people. And so if you can do that, then it makes you a more versatile person. And ENFP is not all that there is in the unconscious, even though it is called the shadow, but it is not all of the shadow. So in my opinion, all the other sides of mind are all in the unconscious, aka the shadow. So it doesn't matter, in the four sides of mind model. I don't have enough room here. I'll write here. So in the four sides of mind model, so I have INFJ here and ENFP here, ESTP here, and ISTJ here. So if I'm only using this one, I'm missing out this one, and this one. And that is if there are only four. But what if there are more systems that is unknown to us, and we are able to utilize other systems, and that makes us even more versatile than only one type, right? So that is another reason why we may not get always the accurate type result, because maybe you are more versatile than you think. Maybe you are using your other sides of mind without you noticing yourself, or you are jumping between different ones, between different answers. You are jumping back and forth for each different answers, and you confused the test because you are not being consistent. So if you only stuck to one side of mind, you will get a more accurate test result for you. But if you are a more versatile person, it is actually harder to test you accurately. So that is a reason why the MBTI test results are not accurate, and it's better if you know cognitive function yourself, and so you know which side of mind you know you are in the most. That is probably your ego, but it's hard to say even then. So anyways, I think I ramble enough for now. So yeah, thank you for watching my video and stay tuned for the next one. See you. Bye.